Hi again, I'm Pedro and I'm back with another video with IELTS tips. This time we're going to be looking at writing part 1 with particular focus on line graphs. So in part 1 of the IELTS writing, you'll be asked to describe some visual information in your own words. You may be presented with line graphs, bar charts, tables or pie charts and asked to describe the facts and figures that you see. Alternatively, you may be given a diagram of a machine or a process and tasked with explaining how it works. You might also get a couple of maps and be asked to describe any changes that you can see. In this question, we have a line graph to deal with. Now this may seem obvious, but the first thing you need to do is read the question and look carefully at the information in the line graph. Make sure you understand what is in front of you before starting to write. So you'll need to write at least 150 words in about 20 minutes. You should be able to answer the question with 3 paragraphs, an introduction and 2 main paragraphs. So let's focus on the question. You're going to use this question as the basis for your introduction. However, if you want to get a better score, don't just copy the exact words from the question. Highlight any key words and try to think of any synonyms for them. In this question, you could highlight shows, consumption, 3 types, fast food, and 1970 to 1995. The second part of the question is also important. This will also contain some keywords that will help you with your writing. You can see in the question, it tells you to select the main features and compare anything relevant. So let's look at the graph now. Avoid looking at any details for now. Just concentrate on the prompt and the X and Y axes. What is being presented? By looking at this, we can see that the Y-axis shows us how many grams are being consumed and the X-axis shows us the time frame for the chart. This time frame is important as it tells you what tenses to use in your writing. If we look at the example in this line graph, you can see it's from 1970 to 1995. So that tells us that you should probably use past tenses. So once you've thought of synonyms for keywords, you can put them together to make an introduction. The graph below depicts the amount of fast food eaten in Australia over a period of 35 years. For your first main paragraph, you'll only need to describe 2 or 3 general trends from the graph. Now we're going to try and select key information. Look at the lines. Is there anything really noticeable? Write about the most important and interesting trends without going into detail and trying not to use any of the specific numbers from the graph. Are there any peaks or troughs? Any sharp increases? Has anything changed position? Well, in this graph, you could mention that the consumption of fish and chips has consistently risen. That in 1970, pizza was the most consumed fast food, but by 1995, it was the least. And despite a dip in 1985, hamburgers have had a steady increase. In the next paragraph, you should start discussing the details. Talk about the numbers and, if relevant, compare any differences. However, don't try to write about all the data. Instead, think about how much the lines have risen and fallen. Are there any differences from the beginning of the time frame to the end? Remember that you should not be giving any opinions or analyzing the data in this section. Opinions are for writing part 2. Just describe what you see in front of you. And that brings this video to a close. I hope these tips have been useful for you. Good luck and see you in the next video.